Hello everybody, it's Sarah and I am very sorry for not uploading this past week. I had to finish a 20-page paper for uni and yeah, I was just way too stressed to think about filming, editing, uploading, anything along those lines. So no uploads. Because of that, I also missed the date or the time when I usually would upload my TBR for the next month. So what we're going to do in this video today is it's going to be a joint TBR and wrap up. So I will just very quickly and concisely go through the 6 books, 5 fiction, 1 non-fiction as always, that I plan on putting onto my TBR for March. And then I will go through the 4/5 books that I read in February and tell you my thoughts on them. But first, very quickly, let's go through my TBR and let's start with the 2 rereads that I have planned. First, I have Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb, which is the first book in the Live Ship Traders. I am currently, of course, doing a reread of the first 3 trilogies within Robin Hobb's Realms of the Elderlings, so I can then read the last 2 series in that world and finish all of Robin Hobb's books in that world. And yeah, in March I plan on starting the Live Ship Traders. Technically I'm not done with Assassin's Quest yet, I have not even started yet, but I'm just gonna start them at the same time anyway. So yeah, that's the first book for my March TBR. Then of course I'm continuing on with A Chorus of Dragons with the 3rd book, The Memory of Souls. I also still haven't finished The Name of All Things, but I have started that one. And the reason why I'm reading this is I am currently hosting a read-along on the Discord of my book club. If you're interested, join us, the link is down below. And the read-along is to prepare for the publication of the 5th and last book in this series, which comes out at the end of April. And so in March, we're reading The Memory of Souls. I am so excited for this one because this definitely is my favorite book in the series so far. Then I have 2 more buddy reads. The first buddy read is a private buddy read, and that is Lord of Snow and Shadows by Sarah Ashe, which is the first book in the Tears of Armaton. And I'm going to be buddy reading this with Scylla. We both picked up this book secondhand. Well, Scylla picked it up first. I then got my copy secondhand, and we decided we wanted to buddy read this series. We both have no clue what this is about, so we're very excited to go into it. And then the last buddy read I have for March is Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. This is the 3rd and final book in the Greenbone saga, and this was the book that was chosen for my book club for March. My book club is of Queens, Witches and Valkyries. It's the same Discord as the one where the read-along is happening, and the book club is all about reading adult high fantasy written by women and genderqueer folks. And all other social media links for the book club, Twitter and so on, are also linked down below. So if you're interested in joining us, definitely go and check it out. Also, even if you have not yet picked up the first 2 books in the Greenbone saga, you're still welcome to join us. The channels for the first 2 books on the book club are still open in Discord. So, you know, there's still discussions going on. But yeah, finishing this and very excited, but also very anxious about what's gonna happen. For the last fiction book on my TBR, as always, I have my little TBR jar, series TBR jar, where I have all the series that I currently have unfinished on my shelves, and I pick one of these series each month to continue on or to finish. And so in March, let's see what we'll do. This one right here is the Anita Blake series by Laurel K. Hamilton. I think the next book is called Dead Ice. I believe it's like the 24th, 25th book in the series. And so, yes, gonna be excited to continue on. It's definitely gonna be some easy stuff to read, some easy and fast stuff to read in between all the massive high fantasy that I have in March. And lastly, for nonfiction, I'm going to continue on with Necropolitics by Achille Mbembe. I am about halfway through this book, 80 pages, and minus, you know, the glossary and stuff, it's about 160, 170 pages. So I'm almost halfway through this book. I should have, like, my plan was to finish this within February, especially since it's a very short nonfiction, but to be honest, after I was done writing for my paper each day, I just really didn't feel like picking up a dense nonfiction. So yeah, and I mean, in the last 1.5 weeks of February, I didn't read at all, so that's that. So yeah, excited to continue on with this because so far, as you see, I've tapped it up quite a bit and I am very much enjoying it. So now let's move on to the wrap-up portion of this video, and as always, I will start with my rereads. First, I have Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. This is the second book in the Farseer trilogy, which is the first series within the realms of the Elderlings. And in this trilogy, we follow Fitzchivalry Farseer, who is the bastard son of the king in waiting of the Six Duchies, which is our main setting in this series. Now, once Fitz's existence is discovered, his father abdicates his place as king in waiting, and Fitz is then taken in and he is being taught how to be an assassin for the king and a king's man. And so yeah, this series basically just follows the first 2-ish decades of Fitz's life. So yeah, I also didn't enjoy the second book, or my reread of the second book. Honestly, I am currently waiting how I'll feel about my reread for The Life-Ship Traders, because that was the trilogy that I enjoyed the most so far. But if I also don't enjoy my reread of that, I might just, you know, cancel trying to finish The Realms of the Elderlings. My big problem with this series in particular, also the third series, is that I just don't care about Fitz whatsoever. And the series is written in first-person perspective, so you don't get any other perspectives aside from our main character, and you only kind of tangentially learn about any of the other characters. So while yes, we do get more of some of the characters that I really enjoy in this book, especially Lady Patience and Kettrican, ultimately there's also so much time spent on fucking Fitz's and Molly's relationship, and I could not care less. I could not care less. And so yeah, I still give this a 3-ish stars because, you know, there's a part of my brain that recognizes that the writing style especially is really pretty, and that it's a well-written book and structured book for what it is, and that it's exactly what it wants to be. But also my personal enjoyment just is not there, and I am kind of happy that I can skim through a lot of the parts because, you know, I still have some memories of what this is about. Next, I have my first DNF of 2022, and with this one I just want to very quickly talk about it and not go too much into it, but it's Dread Nation by Jessina Ireland, and it very much hurts me to have to DNF a book by a Black author during Black History Month, which was why, even though I wasn't really feeling the book, I originally had planned on pushing through. And also, this book is basically set in an alternate history, just like after the Civil War-ish. Didn't really get if the Civil War properly ended or if it didn't end or what happened. Kind of confused about that. Might just be because I don't know enough about American history though, or USA history, US-American history. But yeah, so alternate history, and now there's zombies, and so Black girls are sent to schools to train to fight zombies, to then become attendants of white girls and protect them against zombies. And so the reason why I ended up ultimately DNFing, even though I had problems with it before that, because I found there was a lot of latent misogyny in this book, and I also didn't like how it was written. But the reason why I ended up DNFing it is because I ended up seeing a lot of Own Voices reviews by American indigenous people, as well as African Americans, who talked about, first of all, the colorism in this book and how the way a lot of darker skinned characters are described really just is not okay. And then on the indigenous side, that the way Native Americans and Native American history is depicted within this also just really isn't okay. And that one of the main inspirations behind this book was residential schools, but that the way it was twisted into the history of this book was just like really not okay. I actually found a great review about that, which I will try to find again and leave it linked down below. But yeah, I just ended up deciding to not finish this book. And now my battery is blinking, so before we get into the last 3 books, let me quickly change that. So slightly different lighting because my second, like my backup battery, also didn't have any battery. So yeah, I had to load that first. But now let's get through the last books, or the 3 books that I read in February for the first time. First, I have The Untold Story by Genevieve Cogman. This is the 8th and last book in the Invisible Library series. The Invisible Library series is set in a world where you have or in a universe where you have multiple different alternative histories, worlds to our worlds. And each of those is our world, but you know, more technology, less technology, more magic, less magic. Well, can't really have less magic than our world. Some of them have magic. All of them are at a different point in history. So, you know, some are in the Middle Ages, some of them are in the 19th century, and so on. And in this series we follow Irene Winters, who is a librarian spy. She belongs to this entity called the Invisible Library, which basically tries to keep the balance between the different worlds. And so they have librarian spies who go to the different worlds to steal unique stories and books, and that helps keep the balance. And yes, this was the last book, this was the finale, and to be honest, it just gave me everything that I wanted from a last book in this series. It wrapped up everything nicely, and it just gave me everything that I already loved in the other books. This book plays a lot with narratives, with subversion of tropes, of storytelling, with language, and once again, we had this in here as well. There were multiple times where I laughed out loud, which for me doesn't happen a lot, but Irene is just such a lovely and practical and no-nonsense character, and I love her. And yeah, I just really enjoyed the finale to this book. And so yes, I can highly recommend the series, and now that it's finished, you can binge it. Also, all the books are really short and really easy to read. The next book I want to talk about is A Marvelous Light by Freya Marske. This is the first book in a series that I forgot the name of, sadly, but this is basically queer historical fantasy set in, I believe, either Victorian England or England around 1900. And I think while all of the books are gonna be connected, each book will follow a different main character. In this first one, we follow 2 men. One of them is a human, a non-magical human, who accidentally has been given the job as a liaison for, you know, the Ministry of Magic or whatever it's called. I forgot what it's called in this world, but magic is secret except that there is a Ministry for Magic. It's weird. It's whatever. He accidentally stumbles upon magic, let's put it like that, and he meets another man, and they, you know, try to find out why the predecessor of Robin, who is our main character, has vanished. And so yeah, while doing that, they fall in love with each other. It's a very simple, easy story. I wasn't too into it, like I wasn't head over heels, had a lot of fun with it, couldn't put it down, but yet I would still say it's like a solid 3 stars. I want to pick up the next book, and overall there's just like not that much I can say about this. This is one of those books where I had fun while I was reading it, but now that it's already been like 2 to 3 weeks since I read it, I'm like, yeah, I've forgotten most of the book already. So yeah, I want to pick up the next one, however, so that's that. And lastly, let's talk about this chunky boy right here. This is The Veiled Throne by Ken Liu, which is the 3rd book in the Dandelion Dynasty. The last book will be published in June, I believe. And so yes, I am now caught up with the series, and I am very excited. I think this so far, however, has been my least favorite of the books in the series. I think the first one might have still been my favorite, and then the second one we discovered a lot about the world as well, but overall I still really enjoyed this. I should probably tell you what this series is about. This series is a decades spanning adult political high fantasy series, political and military high fantasy series. and it starts with a rebellion against this empire and two men who play a very vital role in this rebellion, two men who are at the exact opposite spectrums of each other. And so yeah, that's the starting point. Can't tell you more aside from that, you know, it moves very far away from that because, as I said, this is a decades and generations spanning story. And yeah, I just love the characters. I loved seeing some of the relationships develop in this book. I sometimes would have wished that we got to see a bit more of some characters, a bit less of other characters, because, you know, sometimes you just love some characters more and then they happen to not get as much page time, and that's sad. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this, and I cannot wait for the last book, and I cannot wait to see how this ends, because yeah, there's still a lot that needs to happen, but also each book is like 1,000 pages long, so there's a lot of pages for stuff to happen as well. And yes, that was it for this video. That was it for my joint March TBR February wrap up. If you have read any of the books or have thoughts on any of the books that I mentioned, leave them in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, maybe think about giving me a thumbs up and also maybe subscribing. All the links to my social media as well as to my book club that I mentioned are linked down below as well. Readathon again is in the book club Discord. And yeah, with all of that said, I hope I'll see you soon. Bye!